This is our third question, practicing for the SAT. So today we're going to take a look at the tricky semicolons. It's a semicolon rule that was never really on the old SAT, but this new digital SAT is asking it. So I thought it'd be best for us to take a look at it. So let's read our question. So it says that which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English. So once again, that's how we know we're dealing with a grammar question. So let's read this passage. It says Joshua Hinson, director of the Language Revitalization Program of the Chickasaw Nation in Oklahoma, helped produce the world's first indigenous language instructional app, Chickasaw Basic. In 2009, an online television network, Chickasaw TV, in 2010, and a Rosetta Stone language course in Chickasaw in 2015. So you notice in each of those, they're listing something and they're following it with a year. So here's the first indigenous language instructional app, Chickasaw Basic, in 2009. And you'll notice there's also a little comma that follows that. And so I almost want to follow that little pattern here. So I look over at my responses here. I notice they have a little semicolon sitting here and a semicolon sitting here. Here's the comma and here's the comma. I definitely like the comma with that date because it kind of follows the pattern they've also set for me. So I'm going to get rid of these two of A and B. So let's get rid of A and B here. Let's block those guys out. And let's take a look at C and D. Now, looking at C and D, I noticed they put a semicolon after 2009. Now, in looking at a semicolon joins two full sentences together. And so when I look at this, if I put a semicolon after that 2009, then all I have is an online television network picking up here Chickasaw TV in 2010. And that's not a full sentence. However, what they're doing is they're using a semicolon as what we call really a strong comma. So another way of using a semicolon is actually to use as a divider between items that have internal commas. So what's happening is if I highlight this, I can see I'm making a listing. I have the world's first indigenous language instructional app, Chickasaw Basic, in 2009. And that's the first item that we have. So kind of highlight this for us here. And then it goes on to the next one, which says an online television network, Chickasaw TV, in 2010. And what happens is I'm going to change this comma sitting right here into a semicolon because what's happening is I'm dividing three items. And those three items, item one, Chickasaw Basic, Chickasaw TV, number two, and Chickasaw, the Rosetta Stone program, item number three. But because each of those three items has its own internal comma as it goes into these dates, it's hard to tell where one item begins and the next item ends if I'm just simply going to use commas. So we actually use the semicolon as a hard comma. And so what happens then is I'm going to put a semicolon after 2009. Item number two says an online television network, comma, in 2010, semicolon, and a Rosetta language course in Chickasaw in 2015. So therefore, C is going to be my correct answer. Now, a couple of things about semicolons. They don't usually have a conjunction after them. So another sort of red flag for me is this semicolon and sitting right here. A semicolon does the job of the conjunction. So that's why you never see a semicolon and conjunction in a compound sentence. But this is not a compound sentence. And technically, these aren't even semicolons. We call them strong commas, but you can call them semicolons if you'd like to. In this case, it's really an external comma and an internal comma. And the internal commas are here. So this is what the external comma looks like, or the strong comma looks like. It's almost like a way of making strong dividers. Once again, this is a concept that is really sort of elevated in terms of grammar, which I never saw the SAT put on its previous version. But this is coming from the new digital SAT starting this March in 2024. So it's really good for us to know this particular use of the semicolon. If you like this, check out the other videos and more to come, both in grammar and reading as well as in math.